Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified always as we begin the 23rd week of Ordinary Time, at least the working part, and as we continue through this Ordinary Time and enter into the first work week of September. Let us listen to you, let us hear you, and let us also be obedient to your voice that we may lead others to come to know you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, today's gospel has an interesting focus. It's the story of where Jesus heals a man with a withered hand, and he is rejected for doing it on a Sabbath because the law says that you cannot do anything of this type on a Sabbath. And of course, Jesus' response is always yes, but if the law is not there to follow the law for the sake of the law. It's there to do what is best for another. And part of that is also recognizing that gift that the Lord has given us, that on the Sabbath day, which for us is actually the Lord's Day, we spend time appreciative of the Lord, and we also spend time listening to his voice in our lives. And so we recognize that powerful message, and it's a time where we can visit others, it's a time to rest, but it's definitely not a time for working, because this is a time the Lord has given us to help us to socialize, to have a time of rest, to have a time of a joyful appreciation what the Lord has done for us. And that's all there, and that's why it's there. But at the same time, if you have a serious problem, obviously you're going to fix the problem and not respond by not doing something on the Sabbath because it's the Sabbath. So what Jesus is actually fighting against is a legalistic understanding of the Sabbath that completely makes it void of the reason for the Sabbath. But we can look at that at all kinds of rules as well, especially in the Catholic Church. We have to be careful of following rules for the sake of following rules and make them void of the Spirit. We don't see this so much now as we used to see in the past, but it was a classic example. Do you ever meet someone, or maybe you yourself have done it, have gone to a movie theater and genuflect before you went to the row, or someone genuflects before they go into the row? Why are they doing that? Well, the real reason is they have no idea why they do that in church. And of course, the reason is it's a greeting to the Lord in the church. It's a recognizing that he is Lord. And therefore, usually at the time when people actually practice this even more, you would genuflect to the tabernacle, which was at the center of the altar. So that's why you would do that. But people not understanding the reason for it would genuflect and even bless themselves before they go into a row in a movie theater, because they had no idea why the practice was there. So you can see that. Well, we can see that also with other things as well. And we want to be careful of not following laws for the sake of following laws, but know that spirit of the law. I remember a long time ago when I forget the name of the parish, but I was in a parish, and I visited a parish for the morning mass in Long Beach, California. And there was an elderly woman there. Now, this is in the 1980s. There was an elderly woman there who, after mass, totally passed out. And they went and they spoke to the woman, what's going on in the whole bit. Well, eventually, we called the doctors and everything else. But one of the things that came out is she came from a time where you never ate anything after midnight until you went to Mass, until after Mass. Well, of course, putting her age and everything else, that was not a good idea. And so she passed out because of the lack of nutrition. And they asked her, have you had anything to eat today? I think they went and they grabbed her some orange juice. Have you had anything to eat today? And she said, no, of course not. I'm not going to have anything to eat after midnight before Mass. And the people of the parish had to explain to her, no, that, it's important for you to eat something before you coming to Mass because it's not healthy for you not to eat anything. Now, can you imagine if she passed out, even if she was walking, if she passed out on the way home? That could be disastrous. But she followed the law. But the law is there to help us to come to draw closer to the Lord. And when it doesn't do that, which is what Jesus is trying to prove, then you're following the law for the sake of the following the law and not for doing the will of God. So that's an important thing. But there's always that difference to be aware of. You don't disregard the law because you think, well, it's not important. The law is important, but it needs to be followed in a human way. And if it's not followed in a human way, then that's a problem. So we understand. That's one of the things that Jesus is talking about here. In following the law, we follow the law in the context of humanity. So, for example, if you were on your way to church, I think I've talked about this before, and say, for example, you're on your way to church and you see maybe the same person. You see someone who is collapsed on the sidewalk, you don't turn around and say, well, I can't do anything about that because if I do, I will be late for church. You take care of the person who is collapsed on the sidewalk, and probably the best thing to do is just to be there. You don't have to go even near the person, and with this day of cell phones, and just call 911 and have 911 come. That's all you'd have to do. And then afterwards you go to church, but you understand that difference. And so it's a humanizing way of following the law, not following the law just for the sake of following the law. We're going to talk more on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WEZE. We'll be right back. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. And don't forget our own website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. Check out our website. Check out the archives of the show. Connect to the parish. You can also connect to the parish at stanthonyalston.org. But, give us feedback. I see more and more people are going there. They may be checking out the coupon. Remember, you now have a coupon. Come to the 10 o'clock a.m. Mass on Sunday. So if you want to try the parish out, see what it's like, or you want to see, whatever, and you say, well, I don't want to donate any, well, you just put the coupon in the collection or show the usher your coupon. Whatever the case may be, that's what you can do. And that's a way to try out the parish. We'll see how this goes. I think I mentioned to you before, I did mention to you before, that I've done this before with actual coupons. It was a company called Super Coops, and I don't know if they're still around, but they used to send out these coupons, and we put in a coupon for the church. And we had some interesting reactions, and we did have some coupons come back. So anyway, that's what that's for. Come out and experience St. Anthony's and say, yes, we want to help you build up this parish. So that's a great idea. So anyway, we're talking about that powerful message of being attentive to the Lord, but not following, as Jesus shows, not following the law for the sake of following the law. The opposite is also true. The law is there for a reason, to help us to become more rooted not only in the Lord, but also to follow him in such a way that he helps us to be more human and more alive. So therefore, one of the things that's going on in society today that has rejected God, they've rejected the Sabbath. A long time ago, when I was in the seminary, we read a book by Abraham Heschel. And matter of fact, my professor used to quote him all the time, and I used to say, if you wanted to sum up what he said at his homilies at Mass, it was simple. Heschel says, because he used to always quote Abraham Heschel. But one of the things that Heschel said is a problem in the Jewish community, and we can say in the Catholic community too, is not paying attention to the Sabbath. And and for us, it's the Lord's Day, but not paying attention. Say, we don't have to follow that anymore. We can shop on Sundays now. We can do work on Sundays now. We can work on Sundays. And it's kind of like we're free from these Old Testament constraints. Well, no, they were there for a reason. And if you embrace the spirit of them, you understand the reason and you follow them embracing the spirit. You don't follow them for the sake of the law. You follow them for the reason for the law. And that's an important aspect. Now, as much as I can, occasionally something comes up, but as much as I can, I do not do any form of shopping on Sundays. I just don't. I don't do food shopping. I don't do any form of shopping on Sundays because I don't have to do it. And I'll wait until Monday, or I'll wait another day. Usually I do my shopping on Saturdays over at Wegmans in Natick. But I don't do shopping on Sundays. And that's a reason. It's to be focused on the Sabbath. As a matter of fact, one of the things I do, unless something is really needed, and obviously, if someone needs a priest, obviously I'm there, or someone wants to come by and ask questions, I'm here. But one of the other aspects I do is on Sundays I watch NASCAR. I happen to be a big fan of NASCAR. I'm also a big fan of the PBR. And so I watch NASCAR. That's one of the things I do. I watch the race, and was up to New Hampshire for the race when it was there. So that's one of the things that I do as a way of enjoying the Sabbath, because I've already done Mass and everything else. So that's one of the things I do. So keep that in mind. We don't follow the law for the sake of that's the law, we have to follow the law. We follow the law for the spirit of the law. Therefore, we're not constrained by the letter of the law, but we follow the law for the spirit. That means we do what the law calls us to do for the reason it calls us to do that. But at times there are exceptions, but what we want to make the exceptions exactly that. Not common, but they are exceptions. We'll talk more tomorrow. In the meantime, have yourself a blessed day. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.